Hello there wonderful people. In this video today I'm going to be sharing some disability aids that have helped me. The first one is my wheelchair, and unfortunately I can't show you that right now because it is actually folded up in the kitchen downstairs, but I can put a picture of it. The wheelchair has been really helpful for me. I got the wheelchair because I experience muscle weakness. It's currently undiagnosed. I don't know what causes it, but I do have a neurologist appointment about it next month, so maybe I'll find out. But basically, the wheelchair I decided to get because my boyfriend was coming to visit and he was coming over for 2 weeks, but I was worried that my muscle weakness wouldn't allow me to go out and about in places, which I wanted to go out and about places. So I thought, well, if my muscle weakness is preventing me from doing so, I should just get a wheelchair, and then, I can be pushed around when needed, and that'll help me get around. And it was really, really helpful. I was able to go on a trip to London by being pushed around, and without the wheelchair I wouldn't have been able to go. So it was really, really helpful and helped me, go new places and be with others, be with my friends. The wheelchair I got from Amazon. It was quite expensive. It was £300, but I used my PIP money, personal independence payment, to pay for it because that money is supposed to be used for disability aids to help you with your disability. So that was really helpful that I was able to get that. And the wheelchair that I got was an all-terrain one because I knew that maybe I would go on, well, I say walks around a forest, I would be wheeling, but you know what I mean, I might go around a forest or something, and that sort of thing would probably need an all-terrain wheelchair, so that's why I got an all-terrain one. The next disability aid that has been helpful for me is my pulse oximeter, and it sort of checks your heart rate and blood oxygen. And I originally got this because I felt like my muscle weakness was affecting my breathing. Sometimes it actually felt harder to breathe. So I got this to see if my blood oxygen was affected or if it was just the feeling of not being able to breathe properly. With this pulse oximeter though, it actually allowed me to make an interesting discovery. And yes, I lost the back of it. That's why you can see the batteries. It's supposed to have a back, I just lost it. But I made an interesting discovery with this. I realised that my heart rate's often too high. And that was actually really helpful because I hadn't considered before whether some of my symptoms could be related to a high heart rate. But it turns out they are. I get lightheaded sometimes and stuff, and I feel like really, really out of breath. And, it's because my heart rate sometimes goes really, really high. And, without getting this, it would have taken me a lot longer to find that out. So thankfully with this, I was able to go to the doctors and show them what this was saying, and they said that I needed to be referred to a cardiologist and get a 24-hour ECG. So this was actually really helpful in identifying something that could be contributing to my symptoms. So now I'm on the waiting list to see a cardiologist, which is good because maybe I'll get answers then. The next disability aid are fidgets. I have a mini box filled with fidgets, and it is, I'm just getting it, there we go. It is actually really helpful for me because when I'm fidgeting, it really helps me focus and say everything I want to say, helps me process my thoughts properly. So I would recommend fidgets if you think that it would help you focus. I have this one, which this was technically a pencil top, not a pencil top, it's technically the top of a pen, but I pulled it off because I just wanted to use it as a fidget. That was the bit that went onto the pen. But yeah, I like using it like this. I also have this adorable little bear fidget, which it's one of these things with reversible sequins. So sometimes I just sit with it like this and keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. So that's quite sweet. And of course a fidget spinner, the classic fidget. This is actually a really nice design. The colours are really nice on this one. And then, yeah, these little squishy things, mochis. These are sweet, I like these. The next disability aid I have is a blood pressure monitor, and I got this when I was really, really lightheaded because I was thinking maybe I have low blood pressure, and because my muscles are weak I was like, well, maybe it's low blood pressure. So I just decided to get one of these to check it, but weirdly my blood pressure is actually usually too high, but I checked it this morning and it was normal, which is really good. It's a good health day today and that's why I'm filming. It hasn't been normal like that in a while. When I went to an endocrinologist, they had to check my adrenaline because my heart rate and blood pressure are both too high. I don't know what the results of that are, but yeah, I have one of these, and it made me discover that my blood pressure is sometimes too high, but also that it sometimes goes a bit too low. So that was helpful because that made me realise that maybe there is some autonomic nervous system involvement in my symptoms. The autonomic nervous system controls blood pressure and heart rate. So that was actually really helpful because, again, it gave me some answers that I could then share with doctors and say, do you know what's causing this and could it be contributing to my weakness and things? So the next thing I have is an electric heated blanket. I have this, well, I both use it as a disability aid and not as a disability aid. I do use it normally, even when it's not a disability aid, because it's just warm and snuggly, but it is helpful in the sense that I In November, I had a really strange episode where I had circulation issues for days. My arms and legs were like really cold, would randomly cramp, and were like, they didn't just feel cold to me, they were cold to the touch, and they were numb and just horrible, and would feel like they had pins and needles most of the time. And I realised that that was actually a circulation issue, which is not great, but, you know, I had to cover myself in blankets and stay warm and have warm baths, because thankfully the warmth did improve the circulation and did make it feel a bit better. So, you know, now that I have an electric blanket, I know that if I have those episodes again, I can use this electric blanket to help with that. Another disability support aid would be my supplements. This is my immune support supplement. I take 2 of these a day, and that's because I was getting a lot of infections. I think it was between the end of September and the beginning of January, I had like 7 different infections. It was not fun at all. Because when I had an infection, it would worsen my muscle weakness, and it would also just worsen my blood pressure and everything. It would make me feel horrible. So now I take immune support supplements in order to hopefully prevent infections. And I actually think it's working okay. Like, I do feel a bit better in myself. So I do think it's working. This is something that contains vitamin C, vitamin D3, vitamin E, zinc, selenium, ginger extract, elderberry extract, and something that I'm not sure if I can pronounce, but it says L-lysine. I'm going to hope that I said that correctly. But yeah, I mean, so far I seem to think it's working quite well, so I'm happy with that. The next thing I did talk about in a recent video that I filmed, but I have these tinted glasses. Hello! Because sometimes I experience light sensitivity, and when I go out in public, the shops can sort of feel quite daunting. I can't process what I'm seeing properly. I can't even focus on what I'm reading, like labels and things properly, because it's too bright. So these are very helpful, and they also reduce dystonic tics, because my dystonic tics are often made worse with light sensitivity and sensory overload. So these are very helpful. And sometimes when my blood pressure is very high, I do get really light sensitive as well, so this is just helpful in those episodes too. And I get episodes of like pain behind my eyes as well, so again, helpful if it's triggered by light sensitivity. The next disability aid is medically related books, because you can get some really important information from books that helps you manage your conditions, and I'm going to show you some of the books just because they're quite cool. I really like this one about the gut. It does talk about how the gut can impact the brain, so I really enjoy this because that is a huge interest of mine. And I know that my gut issues definitely impact my brain, because dairy triggers my tics, food dyes trigger my rage attacks, and you know, what you consume goes into your gut, so if that's impacting my brain, there is a gut-brain connection influencing there. But also, when I have really bad acid reflux, it actually triggers and worsens my muscle weakness and loss of sensation, so I find that really interesting. So there is a huge communication between the gut and the brain. They are connected through the vagus nerve and the nervous system in the gastrointestinal system. Why is that so hard to say? It's called the enteric nervous system. There we go. Next I have the Optimum Nutrition Bible, which is pretty cool. I haven't read this yet. I mean, it's absolutely massive, but I bought this because I have read another one of Patrick Holford's books about food sensitivities, and it was the most informative book that I've ever read about food sensitivities. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, I have to get it. It must have more good information in. So I'm going to try to read through that at some point and hope that I can read through such a massive book. I don't think I've ever actually read through a book that big before, but I'll try. The next one is a neurology book called Reaching Down the Rabbit Hole. This is more so just about a neurologist's and neurosurgeon's experience. I actually didn't find much that related to me in here, but it's still a very interesting read. Welcome to Biscuitland by Jess Tom. I absolutely love this. It has Jess Tom signed it. I love this. It is a year worth of really her blog posts, a year of living with Tourette's, what she went through and things like that. I would highly recommend this. I love it. I related to it so much. I have a book on OCD, of course. I have another book on OCD. Those 2 books were lent by a friend who has OCD and pandas. And then I have Oliver Sacks' book, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. I find this really interesting. Oliver Sacks was a neurologist, and it also talks about Tourette's in here. And this, I believe this book is from the 80s, and the definition they give of Tourette's is absolutely amazing, and I love it. I mean, I like it. And one of the other ones is a book on histamine intolerance. I haven't read this yet, but I do plan to read it, and this is something that I got because I was experiencing random histamine release. Like, my eyelids would swell up, my bottom lip would swell up, I'd get rashes all over me and really dry skin and stuff, so I got this because I want to learn more about histamine to see how I can help that. I also have a blood sugar testing kit, and that was only to see if I could have low blood sugar, because I have a lot of symptoms that look like low blood sugar. For example, I get blurred vision and numb lips and loss of sensation and stuff, and it goes away after I eat, and sometimes my body wakes me up multiple times in the night to eat. So based on my symptoms, it looked like low blood sugar. So I was told by a doctor to get a blood testing kit and like regularly test my blood sugar, but I actually couldn't find any low blood sugar, so I don't think it's low blood sugar, but I still had to have that testing kit in order to test that. I did it once at age 18 and again at age 20, because at age 20 I got another opinion and the doctor said it actually does look like low blood sugar. I'd get a testing kit, but again, it's not coming back low. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I've had 2 blood sugar testing kits so far and I don't think it's low blood sugar, but I have been told that I might have to go in for a 15-hour fast, which I'm not looking forward to. This probably seems like a weird one, but I would say that this portable DVD player is a disability aid because it does help me. For example, when my symptoms are really bad, I have to rest, otherwise it gets like 100 times worse and it's a horrific episode if that happens, so I have to rest when I feel my symptoms getting worse. But sometimes that sort of rest can be incredibly boring, I'm not gonna lie. Like, people think, wow, it must be so good to be able to stay in bed all day, but honestly, sometimes it gets really boring. So this, DVD player actually helps, because at least then I can watch stuff to stop myself from constantly feeling as bored as a lamppost. What sort of metaphor am I thinking of there? I don't really know, but it just helps me feel less bored, and it also distracts me from the symptoms. For example, sometimes I experience a lot of neck pain and that can be really horrible and nausea and stuff, but I can distract myself by focusing on something else, such as watching a DVD. The next thing that's been really helpful is my notebook, and again, I feel like you're probably thinking, how is that a disability aid? But it's just because I've got some really nice quotes in there that are very reassuring, so if I'm struggling with something, then I can read them. I'll show you a couple. I also stuck stickers in there because I think stickers are really, really sweet. I've got things in there that people have said, which are nice. I've got, what else have I got in here? I've got some goals in there so that I can feel hopeful and actually aim for things and have that sort of motivation. Like, this is actually very helpful for me. What else have we got? I'm trying to find some nice quotes. Like, there's this one. Instead of being ashamed of what you've done, be proud of what you've become. And what else have we got? Just nice things people said to me, really. And then just random musings and thoughts that I write down. It's definitely good to have a sort of notebook like this, because it can be, an outlet for how you feel, but also a symptom tracker. It can also give hope for the future if you write down your goals, and it can also just be used to store helpful quotes and reminders, which is really what I use it for mostly. The next thing that is a disability aid for me is smoothies, but this one is kind of like mushed up. But basically, that's a pomegranate smoothie. Smoothies are helpful when I am feeling nauseous, because sometimes I'm so nauseous that it's actually hard for me to eat solid foods because I feel like I'm just going to gag. So smoothies can be really helpful when I'm experiencing that, so I can still get some sugar and nutrition to perk me up a bit, but not feel like I'm going to gag. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it was informative, and I hope that maybe you could see how something could help you and use that. Thanks for watching.